today. They will begin to rapidly intensify. They'll get a tornado warning on them, and then they'll kind of weaken a little bit, and then they may try to intensify a little bit more. The atmosphere just is not conducive enough to keep the rotation going for a prolonged period of time. The rotation gets going, and it kind of widens out a little bit, and the rotation kind of tightens up. That's kind of the trend here today with these storms, and still seeing some rotation. This is really north of Patterson at this point. And again, we'll zoom in even tighter. Quite a bit of lightning as well. All these white dots you see, that's lightning. And really the center of circulation, let's zoom in even tighter, right on top of Bristol. So if you're in Bristol, definitely want to go ahead and get into your tornado safe spot at this time. That's where I would put the center of circulation at this point. But you can see, kind of like our system earlier, the reds and greens aren't really lining up anymore like they were previously. Let me put a lapse on this here. And you can see over the last hour, we had pretty good circulation earlier. Now the circulation is potentially at least widening out. I don't know if it's necessarily completely weakening, but it's broader rotation. So if you're watching inside this storm, you would see more wind kind of circulating in a pretty wide fashion instead of circulating in a very tight fashion, which is the beginnings of how we actually create funnel clouds and tornadoes. So that would actually be good news here with this storm in northern sections of Pierce County. So again, we'll go back to the more traditional view on Exact Track 4D. Still seeing a lot of heavy rainfall, Patterson, Offerman. Again, this circulation is probably right in this zone right here, and that's going to push off towards the north and east pretty quickly. So I would still be my tornado safe spot in Patterson and in Offerman, because sometimes what happens with these broad rotations is they sometimes kind of move their center of circulation, almost kind of wobble. And so that's what may be going on here with this system. So this is a little bit more intense than what we were tracking earlier, but I am getting encouraged just in the last couple of minutes the rotation is kind of weakening out a little bit. Let's show you what else is going on here. Still got this pretty big line of a powerful winds likely in the Hoboken area. We could be talking about wind gusts approaching 60 miles an hour. That's enough to move the trash cans. That's enough for maybe some minor power outages as well. That's closing in on Nahunta. You'll probably go into a severe thunderstorm warning in Nahunta shortly. Then it kind of snakes its way through portions of the swamplands. And then you can see the warning's actually expired for parts of Columbia County. Baker was never under a warning, but Columbia County and Hamilton County, you're no longer in the warning at all, just the tornado watch at this time. Although we are seeing a bit of a spin up there in lightning near White Springs. Lake City's right there. So right now I'm becoming more and more encouraged if you live in Lake City. The worst of it's probably going to be up here into portions of northeast Georgia, and the wider perspective on Exact Track 4D kind of resetting the scene for everyone. Jacksonville is still in no significant threat here with this tornadic activity at this time. Everything is pushing off towards the north, and as I say that, we have a new severe thunderstorm warning. You can see this includes pretty much the majority now of our WJXT viewers in southeast Georgia. So this includes Camden County, includes Glenn County, includes Wayne County, Brantley County, Charlton County, and even northern or western sections there of Nassau County. That's a severe thunderstorm warning, and that remains in effect until 1:45 this afternoon for, again, a pretty powerful line of showers and thunderstorms. But our main interest is this purple box you see, which is the tornado warning, which remains in effect until 1:30. And this system continues to lift off towards the north and east. So this is eventually heading towards potentially the Jessup area, but we will see if it's going to be able to hold its rotation at this time. Let's once again inspect this a little bit further on Exact Track 4D, and we will again see the rotation is now really beginning to get broad. And we know that because this, if you remember a couple of frames ago, we had a very bright green area and a very bright red area. Now we have a bright green area and kind of a weak red area, which is an indication that the circulation is weakening and definitely broadening out. That's very good news, again, in the Offerman, Patterson area. But we're going to let this warning ride for a little bit longer, let this completely get out of the region, and eventually head into parts of Wayne County. I could see a warning as well for Appling County in Georgia if that rotation were to tighten up a little bit more. So that's kind of the very latest on this storm, again, in the Patterson and Offerman area. The rotation getting very broad near Aspinwall, Bristol. We'll see if we get an update on our radar. We did not that time. This, again, good news. We had some pretty significant tightening of the rotation earlier. Now I'm no longer seeing that. Let's show some different products here with our Exact Track 4D system. We can talk about the rainfall in this system. You can see the rainfall is piling up. We talked to the newsroom earlier about this. Although we don't like the severe weather, we do need the rainfall. We picked up a decent amount of rainfall earlier in December, and we need even more for that, and that will likely occur here with this system. I'm not anticipating significant flooding threats, but we do have the issue. We could have some minor standing water if you do get underneath one of these for an extended period of time. So need the rainfall, but this is not going to be a prolific rainmaker. We can go into shear mode here. I don't think we're going to see much. Actually, a pretty good indication there of where the rotation has been with this storm. And so when you start seeing these little notches right there, that's where the rotation was a little bit tighter. In fact, a pretty tight rotation there near the Pearson area earlier in the hour, and it kind of gives you an idea of the trend line here. So it's kind of moving more in a east-northeast direction than straight northeast. So this may end up missing Jessup if it holds together. May kind of run through rural southern sections there of Wayne County, just according to our shear guidance. We can also see another product here. There's not a ton of hail with this activity today. I'm not too concerned about hail. You do get underneath a huge thunderstorm. We could be talking about very, very, very small pea-sized hail, but that's going to be about it. Upper levels of the atmosphere are just too warm to support hail development with this system. Once again, I'm going to step off screen here one more time, try to get the latest information for you. Again, the severe thunderstorm warnings have been issued for the remainder of the eastern Georgia counties. Still have a similar environment downstream from the squall line. Looks like the damaging wind threat will likely be maintained. And we are still watching the threat for possible tornadoes. Just got an update on the tornado warning. Tornado warning continues for Pierce County until 1:30. The possible tornado is near Offerman or near Patterson, moving northeast at 45 miles an hour. So we're going to continue this tornado warning, maybe to expiration, which would be 1:30 for northern sections of Pierce County. And we'll go back in. Actually, let's clear this out. Let's just use the radar perspective here. And so again, this is broad rotation, Offerman, Patterson. My suspicion is Weather Service is keeping the warning in place because this system's had a history of rotation. And it is very possible that if the warning expires, we may come back on the air with you with a new tornado warning for this cell. So again, Offerman, Patterson, I would still be inside my tornado safe spot. At minimum, even if we don't have a tornado here, we're going to have some wind gusts well above 60 miles an hour, at least potentially, with this system. And it continues to kind of race right along US 84 here. So if you are in one of the homes there along Thomas Road, here's Georgia Highway 32 as it heads up towards the Bristol area. This is the area we're talking about. We could be dealing with the threat for at least wind gusts, maybe over 50 to 60 miles an hour with this storm. You can actually see the warning's been pared back. So Patterson now out of the tornado warning officially. It's now in the Offerman area. And let's go back to the velocity data because we may get another update with this system. Okay, and so you can see now the rotation even weaker, very broad, and it is likely now northwest of Offerman, very close. This is Aspinwall. I've been talking about Aspinwall a lot here in the last 10 minutes. This is the region we're talking about. We could be dealing again with some rotation, but this rotation's very broad along Scenic Drive. There's Tire Bridge Road. Again, the yellow line is Offerman. If you kind of want to get your bearings here and you're in Pierce County, Blackshear's well down towards the south. So if you're in Blackshear, no threat from this system, but we still got a pretty good rain event and storm event going on in the Blackshear area right now. And this rotation is likely going to exit portions of Pierce County here in the next 5 to 10 minutes would be my guess, and then eventually head up into portions of Wayne County. So we'll keep an eye on this system, but I'm becoming more and more optimistic that this tornado warning will either be canceled early or allowed to go to expiration at 1:30. Once again, let's show you, actually, we'll keep this in velocity mode. I'm going to kind of look for any other rotation going on inside the line. Again, what we're looking for is areas of red and green kind of coming together or making almost a circle, and we just don't see that. Right there, the reds and greens kind of come together, but notice it's a line and a line. That's an indication of more gusty winds, not necessarily any rotation inside the storm. That's right along, this is just northwest of Folkston. So if you're watching us in Folkston, get ready. You're going to be dealing with a pretty good thunderstorm here in the next half hour or so. Continuing to look at the line, just not seeing much down here near the Fargo area. And then we still got this bullseye showing up just to the north of Lake City. This is very impressive lightning near White Springs. Oftentimes, lightning is an indicator of a storm that is intensifying. So we'll be keeping a close eye on this behind the scenes in the Weather Center over the next hour or so. If that were to hold together, that's going to cruise through northern sections of Columbia County. Again, no warning for this system at this time, but could intensify a little bit further here as we head into the next several hours. Let's go to a different perspective here. We'll go to the Jacksonville radar. Just kind of want to get a different view of this. Again, not seeing anything significant. The reds and greens come a little bit together here. Right here's Folkston. This is still broad rotation, not too worried about it at this point. And then we'll go up towards the north. Here's Nahunta, again, not seeing any significant rotation. And actually, Jax may have a better view of this. We've got a little bit more of the reds and greens coming together right along Scenic Drive. So the Jax radar may actually now have a better perspective than the Valdosta radar with this system. Again, there's Offerman. So I'd say give this another 5 minutes or so, and this is eventually going to, actually, you can see it's slowly beginning to exit Pierce County. So the center of circulation right now sitting right along Chauncey Road and US 84 right at the county line. So this is the region, if you live, we want to go ahead and take our tornado precautions, want to get away from doors, windows, try to get to that interior hallway. Looks like we got another update coming in. Okay, and the tornado warning has been canceled. Tornado warning has been canceled. The storm which prompted the warning has weakened below severe limits and is no longer capable of producing a tornado. So some good news there. The rotation is really broadened out. In fact, you can see, notice all this red and all this green now showing up. So the rotation really fading away into parts of Pierce County. So some very good news there. I'll reset the scene. We'll send everyone back to regular programming. Still watching this line here. Severe thunderstorm warning pretty much covers all of southeast Georgia here. We're going to be talking about some wind gusts in excess of 50 to 60 miles an hour with this activity. So if you're watching us in southeast Georgia and you haven't had a storm yet, this storm is going to be impressive, it looks like, as we head into the next couple of hours. Concerning Jacksonville, you can see in North Florida, not nearly as intense, and we do think this line will continue to weaken as it works its way through the area. Tornado watch continues until 2 o'clock. Keep it here on Channel 4 and news4jax.com. We'll have the very latest also in the Weather Authority app as well throughout the afternoon and early evening.